I'm your host, Jose Alfredo Alcázar. We're changing it up this time. It's going to be a live for this one. We just finished watching the fights for the evening. Obviously, we're going to touch on the main event or the main focus of the day, which was Artur Beterbiev against Anthony Yarde, which took place in the UK. And then we're going to jump to Alexis Rocha against Ashby, which was the main event here in the United States, YouTube theater specifically. So let's jump to the UK, where we saw Anthony Yarde take on Artur the Tank Beterbiev for the title at 175, or titles, I should say. WBO, WBC, IBF, all but the WBA, which Dimitri Bivol holds. Anyway, so let's get into it. So this went the way I kind of expected it to, but not the way I expected it to. And I first and foremost, I actually said under 5 rounds, but it wouldn't go past 7, and it did. And I first and foremost want to say I apologize to Anthony Yarde. Why do I say that? Because he looked so much better than I anticipated.
100%.
He did an excellent job considering who he was fighting and the magnitude of the fight. And based on what I had seen, based on what I had seen is what I based it on. And that was what my prediction was based on. What he did against Sergey Kovalev, what he did against Arthur Abraham. I'm sorry, not Arthur Abraham. Lyndon Arthur, both times. Lyndon Arthur won the first. Yarde got his revenge in the second. And I know I've said I felt that in the second fight with Lyndon Arthur, it shouldn't have been stopped as quickly as it was, blah, 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 blah. So let's get into it. Fight goes on. Our fight kicks off. The atmosphere was great because in England, it's always great. British fans are awesome. One of my bucket lists is going to England and watching a fight with British fans because to me, they are up there with the best in the world. And they did not disappoint in this one either. The first round right away was very close. I thought Anthony Yarde came out and did great. He had that movement that was kind of keeping Beterbiev on his toes. Wasn't sure. He was like moving around a lot, making Beterbiev guess what was coming up.
Do you think Beterbiev kind of showed his age against Yarde? Like, Yarde looked faster.
He did early. Early. But we'll get into the age factor because a lot of why I picked Beterbiev came into play, and it was right to a certain extent because I felt that Anthony Yarde's conditioning is always a problem and always has been, in my humble opinion. And to me, it showed again. Again, the first round was very good. Very good. Anthony Yarde had a very good game plan. But executing that game plan from the first round through the 12th round is one thing. And then being in there and trying to execute that is a whole nother thing.
I think that, like you said, Anthony Yarde's showing was much more than anybody expected, right? I mean, you had 2 judges that had Yarde up over Beterbiev.
Which I did not see.
Yeah.
I completely disagree with that.
Yeah. So I think his conditioning was good until Beterbiev caught him.
I think his conditioning was good until the rounds I expected it to be good. Does that make sense? So the early rounds are Anthony Yarde rounds. That's when he needs to capitalize. And there were moments where he did, and moments where he actually looked really good.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I continue to point out that Anthony Yarde absolutely made me look wrong in a lot of spots.
Well, you just didn't think of the showing you would put on him.
I didn't think he would look as good as he would for as long as he did, even though the fight didn't go 12 rounds.
I think that was my biggest thing about this, right? Was that if Yarde takes this loss, it makes him look really bad. Like, nobody's really going to look for a fight for him or anything like that.
Right.
But I think with his performance, it's gonna help him get a fight down the line.
No, yeah. No. Anthony Yarde gave I would almost argue an excellent account of himself in this fight because he did land some really good shots on Artur Beterbiev, and at times I felt like he maybe didn't have him hurt to the point where Beterbiev was worried.
Cut him.
Even though I would say the commentary kind of made it seem like, Beterbiev is hurt. Even though I personally didn't think he was. I thought he definitely felt some of Anthony Yarde's shots. I want to say it was in the 5th round where Anthony Yarde landed that right hand that really seemed to push Beterbiev back in a way where you're like, whoa, what was that? And this is after Beterbiev won the 3rd and the 4th convincingly and hurt Yarde. But to Yarde's credit, he's got a chin. Because I haven't seen somebody take shots like that from Artur Beterbiev and be able to survive the round. Not even Joe Smith was able to.
Hey, the corner, and I would also like to mention the corner I think it was a good choice. Throwing in the towel before him. Yarde didn't quit. The
Right.
corner threw in the towel.
Yeah. But before we get to that, I want to make sure that we keep continuing to point out what Anthony Yarde did leading up to that. Because Anthony Yarde did put up a very good to excellent fight against the competition he was facing, which to me is 1-2 at 175, as in the 1 or 2 best fighters at 175, because right now it's between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol at 175. And Anthony Yarde gave a great account of himself. And I want to make sure I continue to point that out because I'm the one that said he won't last 5 rounds. He's going to get knocked out. Based on what I saw Artur Beterbiev do to somebody like Joe Smith Jr. And I always said, if Anthony Yarde fought somebody like Joe Smith Jr., which I would love to see that fight, I don't think Anthony Yarde could beat Joe Smith, is what I said. Now that I saw this Anthony Yarde, based on what I saw from Sergey Kovalev to Lyndon Arthur to tonight, I'm not sure anymore. I have to give my respect to Anthony Yarde. I'm not sure anymore if Joe Smith Jr. could beat Anthony Yarde. If Anthony Yarde continues to work on his craft and more importantly his conditioning. Because in the commentary, because I know we were both watching the fight at different times, but a lot of the commentary from the U.S. side, and that's another thing, I want them to give us an option to hear the British commentary. Because I think I didn't get to hear it, and I personally feel like the British commentary was probably better.
Well,
with all due respect to Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley, I don't want to knock them. But they kept pointing out Anthony Yarde's physique and how much that weighs on you, how much oxygen that takes from you. And rightfully so. They're professionals. They've been in the ring. They're legends. Never mind. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't insult them. They're legends. Hall of Fame. And they kept pointing out his physique. And rightfully so. But I feel like Anthony Yarde has always had a conditioning issue, and it showed again. And I knew it would. Not that I'm an expert to the extent they are, but I knew it would, because if you see what he did against Kovalev, if you see what he did against Lyndon Arthur, both fights, his conditioning does come into play after 5 to 6 rounds, if not a little earlier. And in this fight, it came into play more so because Beterbiev's jab was consistent, and it was in Anthony Yarde's face every single round. Artur Beterbiev did not stop using that jab, and more boxers need to take note of that. And we'll point that out in the Alexis Rocha fight when we touch on it next. Yeah. Because Beterbiev's jab was consistent. And I think that's one thing boxers don't do enough of, or they go away from. So, obviously, Yarde, great showing. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Artur Beterbiev showed why he is who he is and why he has the 3 titles at 175, and we should get undisputed next.
Are we going to get it, though?
No, we're not. No, we're not, unfortunately. And I hate to say that because Bob Arum's over here going to do what Bob Arum does. And more so, and I wrote something on our Facebook page if you guys want to check it out. Bob Arum does not like Eddie Hearn. And even on Twitter, I said, should Anthony Yarde win, or Artur Beterbiev. You're going to have the same problem with both. Frank Warren and Bob Arum both do not like Eddie Hearn. Frank Warren represents Anthony Yarde. Artur Beterbiev is represented by Bob Arum. They both don't like Eddie Hearn. And here's my thing. What I will cite for the Bob Arum fans. How many times here in the U.S. did we see this fight promoted on ESPN? First Take, Get Up. What's the one with Max Kellerman? In Now or whatever. He's got his own show. But I did not see this fight promoted on ESPN in a way that you can go after DAZN and Eddie Hearn and say, if you put it on the app, you're not going to get views type of thing. Because they didn't promote this fight on ESPN the way you would think. That platform is massive here in the United States. I did not see this fight promoted on there. So Bob Arum's argument that it should be on ESPN or that Eddie Hearn needs to come to them and then they will make it is nonsense and garbage. And us fight fans need to make sure that we speak up more often because Bob Arum is just jealous of what Eddie Hearn is doing to a certain extent. And I point that out more so because of what he did with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. He sold out Madison Square Garden. And this was after Bob Arum said what he said about female boxers. So anyway, don't let me go off on this tangent because I could go on all day. The point is, we should not wait until 2024 to make Artur Beterbiev against Dimitri Bivol. Right now, this fight is set up for undisputed at 175, and it would be a great fight without a shadow of a doubt. Because if you saw what Artur Beterbiev did in this fight, when Anthony Yarde was really applying the pressure and landing some really good shots, you could see Beterbiev, his experience and his know-how. He is a boxer. He's not just a knockout artist. Yes, he's got 19 fights and 19 knockouts, but if you watch the fight closely and if you understand what you were seeing, Beterbiev would stay calm, would back away, would reset a lot, and then come after Anthony Yarde. And even when Yarde was landing good shots, Beterbiev would settle himself, reset, and then go after Yarde again.
But I'm saying I don't see Beterbiev beating Bivol. Do you really think after that performance, getting hit like that from Yarde, that he beats Bivol?
I think he can. And I say this is why I say this. And if Juan was here, he would probably agree with me. Because when Bivol fought Joe Smith Jr., who they have in common now, Beterbiev and Bivol, Joe Smith landed some heavy shots on Bivol. And what happened in the fight, you can see it happen. Bivol took a step back. He was more cautious when he felt that power, when he felt it shake him a little. And I think that's where Beterbiev is different. Beterbiev felt the power from Anthony Yarde, but what did he do? He stayed calm. He reset. He waited for Yarde at times. When Yarde would come in, he would counter.
But how long
and I think what Bivol has is he hasn't shaken that moment where Joe Smith Jr. really hurt him and Bivol took a step back. Because even against Canelo, I felt like Bivol could have really stepped on the gas and gone after Canelo and maybe even knocked him out, but he didn't do it. He was very cautious. And maybe Bivol he'll get the right team in his corner to tell him, hey, this is what we saw. This is what you need to fix. Who knows? But as of right now, I still think it's a 50-50 fight because of that. Because I think Bivol something happened to him against Joe Smith. And I saw it again against Canelo. Because I'm like, you were beating Canelo. You could have knocked him out had you really wanted to go for it. Same thing against Zurdo Ramirez. Zurdo was being very cautious. And at times I thought Bivol was landing some clean shots on Zurdo Ramirez and could have gone after the knockout. But he didn't. So that's why I think Artur Beterbiev has a 50-50 shot of beating Bivol.
Right?
Right.
If you're up fucking whatever else.
Right.
Why not just cruise to the end of the fight? You still get paid no matter what. It's just not okay. Is it entertaining for the fan? No. But the fighter still gets paid.
Absolutely, but what did you say at the end of the Alexis Rocha fight? When we just finished watching it right now. Didn't you say that's a statement?
Well,
he made a statement.
Yes, 100%. So yeah, let's move on to Alex Rocha's versus.
Yeah, now let's transition into that one.
Ashy.
Yes. So tonight from Inglewood, California, inside the YouTube theater, we had Alexis Rocha fight George Ashby, who was a 6-day late notice fill-in. So let's
Flew in
make sure
from
we point that
Ghana.
out. Yes, from Ghana. And let's say that again, from Ghana. And I want to say that again because George Ashby and anybody who's known boxers from Africa knows that Ghana produces some of the best boxers from Africa. And this was no exception. And yes, I say that with the caveat of people like Chris Mannix saying that it was a sweep, that Rocha was winning every round. But if you watch that fight, and if you're listening to this and you watch the fight, you can see that Ashy was in the fight. He did not come to lay down or to be another stepping stone in the career of Alexis Rocha. It was a hell of a performance from George Ashy. And yes, he got knocked out in spectacular fashion. But with that being said, again, I want to make sure I give him his respect, just like I did Anthony Yarde. The man came to fight. He did not come to lay down. Watch the fight back if you can, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But we're going to jump into really the meat of it. Alexis Rocha calling out Terrence Bud Crawford.
Oh, no. Okay, let's talk about the performance of Alexis Rocha, and does it merit a fight against Crawford?
I think it does.
So I think that he got hit a little bit too much.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did. Absolutely. But that is something that's enticing to somebody like Terrence Crawford. That pulls that guy in. Not that he wouldn't take it, because I don't see somebody like Terrence Crawford, based on what his career has been, not taking the fight. And more importantly, if he was talking with Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins, like you said, they posted on Instagram, right? On social media, that they were talking to Bud Crawford. If they make him a good offer, it's not going to be $10 million at BLK Prime, like BLK Prime did. Nowhere near that amount. But it could potentially be $3 million. That's still a good payday. That's still a very good payday.
Crawford don't do anything crazy.
But what I mean is, if I'm Terrence Crawford and I get offered $3 million to fight somebody like Alexis Rocha, I take it.
Well,
who else is out there?
What other fight? Yeah.
Exactly. Only Charlo at 154. Jermel in this case, not Jermel. Jermel. And we don't know what the PBC would offer Terrence Crawford to fight Jermel. But Rocha called him out. And if I know Terrence Crawford, based on the entirety of his career that I've followed him and kept up with him, he's going to say, you can't hang with me. I'll fight you any day of the week. And I think Golden Boy would put up $3 million is reasonable. I don't know if he asked for like 5 to 7. I think $3 million is reasonable. And then where do you put that fight? Do you put it in Omaha? Or do you put it in Texas? Or do you put it in California?
Texas.
Those are the only 3 places where it makes sense.
Texas.
But Rocha's not from Texas is the only reason
Mexican.
I know, yeah, that's true. And maybe to prop up Ortiz fight, should he beat Stanionis, which was rescheduled for April 29th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, April sometime.
But yes, the big thing is that Alexis Rocha made it clear he wants Terrence Crawford, and that's one hell of a call out. Yeah. And he knocked out Ashby in spectacular fashion. Yes, Ashby's 38, but fighters from Ghana.
Yeah, it's like a freaking.
He put on in my opinion, considering he was a 6-day. He took the fight on 6 days' notice.
It took him 2 days just to get there.
Was crazy.
Coming from Ghana, it took
crazy.
Him 2 days.
And he hit Rocha with some really good shots. So it's not like Rocha just walked over him. No. He actually caught Rocha a lot, countered him here and there. And the fact that Rocha put him down in the second round, and then Ashby made it all the way into the 8th until he finally just gave out. All the respect to George Ashby, 6 days notice, and if what you're saying is true, that the travel time really gave him 2 days to get ready, all the more amazing, all the more respect to him. And I'm ready to see Terrence Crawford against Alexis Rocha.
Hey.
Do it in California or Las Vegas, ideally California, because then you can sell more. You can actually put it in a decent-sized arena, maybe even Staples Center. Maybe I'm reaching there. But It would. I think it would sell tickets. It would sell tickets without a shadow of a doubt.
But it's got to be a good weekend for Oscar De La Hoya, right? He had his champ, the
Yes.
Rocha win. You know, he's got the Garcia fight coming up.
Yeah, he's been talking up that, and he basically makes it sound like it's going to happen on the 15th, which obviously we're all hopeful. And I know I said this on social media. They need to do it. They need to finalize it by next week. So this way you can take advantage of Super Bowl weekend and find a way to promote that fight during Super Bowl weekend, if not Super Bowl Sunday. Find the money, put a damn commercial Super Bowl Sunday, and promote that fight, because that is a mega fight if you promote it right. Like what ESPN did tonight with Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. They brought them in the ring, went face to face. Tommy Fury had his shirt off. They said a bunch of nonsense. And honestly, I'm kind of intrigued by this fight because Tommy Fury is supposedly a pro boxer. And if like I told John, the only thing Fury has going for him is that he has the history, the knowledge, yes, the wealth of knowledge in his corner. Tyson Fury, John Fury, Hugh Fury, Peter Fury, all those guys, they know boxing. They know the game. But Jake Paul, to me, has what it takes to knock out Fury, because Fury's more of a TV star. And that's just my humble opinion. But anyway, guys, whoa. Okay, wait a minute. Go ahead.
Fury's a TV star?
Yes. Tommy Fury in the UK.
Let me see if I can look at comments.
I think he's a freaking TV star. He's not a boxer.
But like I said, I think
yes, he has an 8-0 record with 4 knockouts. But like Jake Paul was saying, against cab drivers. So let's just keep it real.
My question is like more relating to like Tank Davis. Like what card would you put Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia meeting in the ring like they did tonight? Because what do we have coming up?
From here to there, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Man, that's a good question. I'd have to really...
I think we have to revisit that one.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I think it's a great...
Because in February, well, I'd have to look at what the schedule is for PBC and for Golden Boy on DAZN. Because right off the top, if you asked me that, I would... my thought automatically went to Lee Wood and Maurice Lara.
Yeah.
But that's in the UK.
Yeah, they can afford it.
And that's Eddie Hearn, technically. That's Matchroom Boxing. It's not Golden Boy DAZN. But it's still DAZN. If DAZN says, Eddie, we need to promote this fight, son. We lost X amount of money because of the pandemic, because of 2021. You know what I'm saying?
If Eddie Hearn poo-pooed on that, I would say, fuck you.
No, I don't think he would. I don't think he would. I don't think he would for this reason. Because at the end of the day, he is a boxing fan, whether you see that as me cozying up to Eddie Hearn or there are other terms you can use for it, but I don't want to say it on here. But anyway, no. I think Eddie Hearn would definitely go, okay, yes, absolutely. That's a big, massive fight for DAZN and the platform. And then potentially he could have Devin Haney back and have Devin Haney fight one of those guys. So
Not wrong, sir.
there's a lot there.
All right. But yeah, we'll be back this week.
And the other fights of the night, we're going to put them up as shorts on our page. There was Beck the Bully. There was the Itama brothers, which was a whole nother bag. Exactly. You heard John's reaction. And then we had a couple other fights on there that were very interesting.
The Puerto Rican Locos.
Jimenez to the Costa Rican.
But the other first fight of the night on the DAZN card was great.
Okay, yeah. That's right.
Loma Campos or some shit.
Yeah. We'll definitely put up those videos. And this was our very first live. Thank you for whoever tuned in. And of course, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We're working hard to continue to put out content out there. And thank you guys.
Hopefully
I hope you enjoy the fights. And hopefully, like John said, this worked.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Just bleed.